Hello Orchid friends, welcome back to my channel. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day, staying healthy and staying safe. I have 4 new orchids to add to my collection, and today this video I want to show you what they are and what they look like when they arrived. I got these orchids from Joseph Wood Orchids, and it was through their America import partner, Jack Zhu, and his email is listed at the bottom of the video for your reference. And if you're in North America and are interested in Joseph Wood Orchids, then you can contact him. So the first one is this orchid. The pod parent is a cross between mycolids and Luda Maniana, and the pollen is from Bellina. So this is a mixture of 3 species. And these photos are just to show you the possibilities that will come from this cross grown from seeds. When this orchid first arrived, it already had, I think, 3 spikes. And the bud that you see in the video didn't make it. It started to fade 2 days after I took this video, and that's normal and understandable because during transport and due to change of environment, humidity, or even temperature, usually I don't have high hopes for buds that are, that have gone through transportation. I didn't make it, but the other spike was growing another bud. It's very small. I could see it, but it was very small. It's the one on the right, the spike on the right there. So if everything goes well, I may be able to see this orchid's flower before next year. And the second one is a species, Violacea, and this one, its variety name is called Round C. And you might be able to see why later in the video, why it's called Round C, but I can tell you this orchid is also a very interesting orchid. Well, first of all, this orchid was said to be one of the most vigorous strength of Violacea, and it has a very strong capability to continue to bloom sequentially, and the growth speed is medium toward the fast spectrum, and it's very, very suitable for orchid beginner hobbyist. And just looking at the photos here, you can see that it has a little bit of markings on the top portion of the flower, and it's round, and it kind of looks like that Luda Maniana characteristics, but maybe that's why it got the name of round seed. And I can tell you this orchid, this Violacea, is not the same as all the Violaceas I have in my collection. Its marking is very special, and its smell is also very different. It does smell like Violacea, but it does not have that very spicy smell to it. It's actually more sweet. And I wish I had more Violaceas blooming at the same time with this orchid so I can compare, but just based on my memory, this orchid, this Violacea cross, variety I should say, has a little bit more sweet smell to it. And the color is that pink, fuchsia, magenta color that I really like. It currently has 3 spikes, and 2 of which are blooming, so it's quite nice, to be honest. In the morning, I don't have to get close, and I was able to smell its fragrance. And unlike the first orchid, this Violacea, the 2 buds, all made it. They bloomed, they developed, they bloomed, and they smelled lovely. Usually the first 30 days after I receive new orchids, I typically keep them how they are. I don't unpot them, I don't repot them unless I have to. And of course, new orchids, you always want to quarantine them, separate them from your main collection in case it carries any disease, virus, or bugs, pests, issues. And after that, you can gradually introduce them to your collection. But the first 30 days, you really want to try not to repot them because there are so many changes that new orchids are already trying to get accustomed to, and you really don't want to disturb orchids or even damage orchid roots if you don't need to, and that's what I have done, and it has worked pretty well. And coming up, the third orchid, this one is called Snow Swan, and by its name you can probably already guess that the flowers would probably be white, and you'll see later that it's indeed. This orchid will produce very striking white flowers. According to the nursery, this orchid tends to have multifloral and multi-spikes, and this orchid also has very strong capability to sequentially bloom, and the speed of its growth is fast, and it's really easy also for beginner orchid hobbyists, and it's particularly appropriate and particularly recommended for people who like to see orchid blooms often. And then another, another remark of this orchid based on what the nursery told me is this orchid can have 2 to 6 flower spike at a time. So it has a lot of great potential. The orchid that I received, this one in the video, it has 4 flower spikes when I got it. So I was truly amazed, even though it did not have any buds or flowers at the time. But I have high hopes for this one because I'm really looking forward to get those big, white, waxy, striking white flowers. I don't know about you, there's always a place in my heart for white orchids. To me, white orchids are classics. They can never go wrong, and if you go to any grocery stores or any place that sells orchid, if they have orchid, chances are good that they will always have at least one white variety for you to choose from. And coming up, we have our 4th orchid of this video. I put this one last because it's a very special orchid. This one is called Joy Spring Cannery Rainbow Country. This one came with 1 spike and with 4 buds. It all bloomed out, but at the time of this video, it still had 1 last bud to fully open. But I can tell you that this orchid is such a special orchid. Why? This one is a very vigorous cross, and its fragrance is just out of the world, out of this world. It has very, very sweet, very sugary, sweet fragrance. And based on my memory, I want to compare it to Bellina, and I would say that this orchid actually is probably smelling better than Bellina, even though I love my Bellinas, but I can almost say that this one is just as nice, if not better than my Bellinas, unfortunately. I'm a die-hard Bellina fan, but this one, after smelling the fragrance of this one, oh my gosh, it blew me away. And then also, this orchid is fragrant from morning all the way to about 9 o'clock in the evening. It's like fragrant pretty much the whole day. I was also very surprised by that. And just so you know, more additional information from the nursery is that this orchid tend to have shorter spikes but multifloral. Every time it blooms, it's always multiple. At least for me, I know for my Bellinas, for example, it's usually like 1 or 2, maybe 3 flowers. But this one, from the get-go, I'm getting 4. So I tend to believe that's true. So we'll see if this orchid, blooms more flowers. I'll definitely make an update and share that with you. So these are the orchids I want to share with you today. And if you're interested, check out Joseph Wu's website and their Facebook page. And if you're also in America, you can also contact Jack Zhu so that he can help you perhaps get a couple orchids from Joseph Wu's Orchid. They're in Taiwan, but Jack is in the States, and he is the import partner of Joseph Wu Orchids. This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video.